Bob Odenkirk. This is so exciting. Now,
Well, you've been a part of everyone's lives for how long now? 20 years, 25?
something like, yeah, it's been too long, Bob.
You got to say the number.
Well, we've been doing this show. I started it in 2000, and so 23 years. The show is legal. It can drink, but cannot rent a car yet. It's I think you have to be 25 to rent a car.
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember?
God forbid you should ding up a rental car.
No. You remember the first time you rented a car? You remember?
Oh yeah, I was probably I was probably 25, and I got a job writing at Saturday Night Live at that time, and so I had the money to rent cars and go places.
Sure.
So I'm going to take a guess. My first rental car was 26 years old after the first season of that I wrote on SNL that I worked on.
And that's, what are we talking, 88? Is that the first
87.
87.
I got hired and I stayed till 91, till spring of 91. Not long.
Now, one of the people who helped you along with that was Robert Smigel, who is somebody who, this is what I feel about Robert Smigel. When everybody looks back, they're going to realize this guy had his hands on everything and helped 1,000 people get to where they were looking to get to. He saw things in people. He's been incredibly kind to me over the years. So many of my friends, and I feel like people don't, because he's always there. I'm not saying like, oh, wait till he's, God forbid anything like that. But people should realize the impact that Robert Smigel has had on so many people in comedy.
It's hard to know and want people to know, and know that people just don't. It's like you have the secret information that should be so commonly appreciated, but it's hard to get people to grasp how powerfully important Robert Smigel's comic writing and voice are to everybody we know in the world of comedy of the last 30 years.
Absolutely.
By the way, he has a new piece coming out that I think looks amazing. It came from the mind of Robert Smigel. It's called Leo. It's an animated feature on Netflix that should come out in like the next 2 months. And I'm telling you, Robert told me this idea 2 years ago. And I said, boy, that's amazing. It's a winner. And so I can't wait to see it myself. It's got Sandler and Bill Burr in it.
That's amazing. Yeah. The movie that Robert Smigel directed, the Adam Sandler movie, I think is one of the best things Adam Sandler's ever done. The week of was like he pulled off a very tricky thing where it's half the weird Adam Sandler stuff and half the grounded Adam Sandler stuff. He's the only person who could kind of hit that axis point between the two. Actually,
he's really a special talent, and in a way, I think he saved Saturday Night Live because Lorne was going through all those different changes around 1986, 1987 of cast members, but Smigel was writing the greatest stuff then. If anybody remembers the Star Trek scene, the Star Trek fans, the nerds, where Shatner says, "Get a life." Yeah. The Steve Martin cold open of the show where he sings, "I'm not going to phone it in tonight." That's Smigel wrote that. Brilliant. I can't even, the list goes on and on. He had a lot of recurring pieces too in the show. And so that's what gets mentioned. But the truth is he contributed the smartest standalone comedy ideas to the show of anyone.
Yeah. Just the word genius gets thrown around way too much, but I would say it applies for Smigel.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So when you were coming up, there's always that thing where it's like, oh, I saw a comedy thing that I wish I could just like project for everybody to see the thing. It's only in my head. what is something like that that you wish you like, whether it was an early improv thing or whatever it would be, you're just like, I wish
that
I
I
could show.
saw
Yeah,
that
that you were a part
inspired
of.
me.
Yeah, but
Well, let
wasn't
me tell
filmed.
you something I saw that nobody's ever seen that exists. If we could get it out of the cold, dead hands of NBC.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Smigel wrote a sketch that was done. It was partly done on film and partly done live. And it was how Chaplin discovered his character of the Little Tramp. And it's a sequence where do you know this, Tom?
I think I know of it, but please tell me.
Okay, so it's like an AMC movie channel piece where the host keeps coming out and talking to you in between each clip. And he talks about how he's going to show you some early footage of Chaplin, and you'll see his genius as he discovers the character of the Little Tramp. And essentially what it is, it's some kind of Chaplin film that's being made. Dana Carvey plays Charlie Chaplin, and John Lovitz plays a guy who's a background artist, an extra in this little film. And from the first take, John Lovitz is doing the tramp character in the background. And you see Dana Carvey as Charlie Chaplin enter this little diner coffee shop and go to buy something, and he calls cut, and then he steals just the hat from Lovitz, and then he calls cut again and he steals the cane, and then Lovitz gets up and walks out, and when he sees Lovitz walk out, he calls cut again and he steals the walk, and you see him steal every aspect of the character from this forgotten extra. And the host of the show never ever says you can see him stealing. You just see him say things like, Chaplin has an idea. He's going to approach the character with a new point of view. And he never cops to the fact that he's just lifting it off this guy.
Oh, that's so funny. That
was brilliant. And it was done for dress rehearsal, and it got no laughs, zero. And it was brilliant. And so, I mean, fuck that audience. They deprived the world of one of the greatest comedy pieces ever made.
Well, like you said, maybe one. Look, it might be a fire sale soon with all these places anyway. We can maybe put together a low ball and pennies on the dollar. What was it like, you coming out of sketch and coming out of, you're playing multiple characters here or there? What was it like to basically live as one character for a decade? What's that like to make such a seismic shift?
Yeah. I mean, Saul was a challenging job to have, and a great job, but a challenging one. I had to really lose myself in that part, and it took everything I had and everything I could imagine doing as an actor to try to bring all the sides of that character to life. So one thing about doing the character for essentially 14 years, it's pretty substantially grows between Breaking Bad and Saul is there's some big, deep, fundamental growth in the writing of the character. So it doesn't feel to me like I played one guy for that long. It doesn't feel quite like that. It comes across if you just break it down to numbers. But I think that the degree to which that character had dynamic range made it a much more fun and involving character to play for a long time than maybe some characters you're used to seeing in TV shows.
Yeah, because so it actually, you felt the stages of the character, which kept.
He was so different, and the truth is, even in one episode, there could be 3 to 5 pages of almost pure comedy when he's selling cell phones to drug dealers, or when he's having a confrontation with his brother that's entirely personal, very interior. And so those are just tonally so different that it was always a lively challenge to do.
Now, Bill Murray, for example, talked about when he played Hunter Thompson in that movie,
Yeah,
Where the
great.
Buffalo Roam. He said it took about a good chunk of time to like undo everything that playing a character that intense required.
Yeah,
What is it like? Is there some kind of cool down thing
yeah,
for you with this?
yeah. I by the way, I used to really laugh at actors who said things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading about, you know, James Gandolfini talking about playing Tony Soprano and thinking, come on, it's not that hard. I mean, it's just acting.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally relate now. I mean, when you have to play a character and give yourself over to this other person's mentality and sensibility and the pressures inside them for, 14 hours a day for months, and then you have to do that for years, there is definitely a decompressing period that comes after that, where you sort of, you're of course you're always yourself, but I I relate to the feeling of a kind of a slow exhale over time
Mm-hmm.
as you let that character go. So honestly, after the first season of Saul, I was a basket case for until the next season started.
Okay.
And I just walked my dog for hours and hours and hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good. That was the therapy I had for decompressing there. But after Saul, I honestly think I'm still saying goodbye to that character now, even though we finished shooting that over a year ago.
Sure.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm, letting it go.
Mm-hmm. And does it feel like doing something that was such a character that, like you said, covered all of the range of a three-dimensional human?
Yeah,
The idea of like a sketch, you're building the whole world. The world, it begins and ends in 5 minutes. Does that feel like it would be like a nice place to return to? Does it feel like a place that has passed you by at this point? What does that feel like, your relation to that kind of
well, I
comedy?
just did a sketch show in Chicago. I wrote a couple sketches, and I did it with my son Nate, who's a writer in Chicago, and we put them up at the Annoyance Theater. We had a great time. I love sketch. I still love it. I still love writing it. I still love thinking about it. But the truth is, this is going to sound. I don't like statements like this, like rules about anything.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody wants to watch old people do sketch comedy.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Carol Burnett did it for many years into an older age, and you could say Benny Hill did some version of it, but I don't really think that was sketches quite so much as like a personality show that was like music hall comedy. So I just think people, John Cleese said something once about um, when you're young and you're playing a judge or a doctor or anything, people are already smiling because you aren't a doctor. You're not a judge. You're not the president of the United
Mm-hmm.
States. You're 26. You're 24.
Mm-hmm.
You putting a robe on and saying you're this, you're that. When you're 60 and you pretend to be a judge, nobody smiles. Like, you don't get a
Mm-hmm.
smile right away because everybody goes, well, I mean, yeah, you could be a judge.
Yeah.
What's the joke? Where's the joke part? Whereas it's already a joke. Everything you do when you're 23, 24, 25 doing sketches, it's just an automatic smile right away to pretend you're various people in the world, because you're not.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know if that describes everything aspect to why I think the older you get, the harder it is to have the leeway to do silly sketch comedy. But I don't know. I have a book coming out. It's the closest thing to a bunch of sketches you can get from me. I actually have it right here. Boop. It's
Okay.
called Still It. We're actually going to come to Boston Are you in Boston, Tom?
I'm in Los Angeles.
No, weren't you in Boston
I
or
was in New
New England?
Jersey
New
forever.
Jersey.
Yeah. And
Anyway, I wrote these poems with my kids. It comes out in October, and my daughter's right here, by the way. Say hi, Erin.
hi, how are you?
And she did the drawings, the illustrations.
Amazing.
But it was the closest thing to sketch comedy because you have a little comedy idea, and you sort of play with it, turn it three different ways, and then you have to kind of turn it inside out at the end. And so, I mean, I might do more sketch comedy with my son,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know. David Cross and I are always talking about making something. We were just meeting last week. We met every day for about a week and came up with 2 or 3 ideas, of which I cannot tell you any of them.
Sure.
But everyone who liked Bob and David and Mr. Show, just know that we love working together and giving you our point of view and our comedy, and we're trying to think of a way to make something. So
Sure.
you could look to it, I think.
And I'm not going to say anything in detail. I heard a thing a year ago. I got to hear a thing that you and David
Sadly,
were working out.
did not, that died. That project was bought and killed by one of the big companies that likes to kill things.
Yes,
but it was a great project. I wish we could do that for you.
Yeah,
but,
that was really fun.
They paid a lot of money to put it to death. I can
Mhm.
tell you that.
Yeah. This next question might be a little uncomfortable now. I was going to ask which of your children would be your favorite. I didn't know one of your children was in the room with you, so
Yeah.
it might kind of tilt might be a little bias built in. So
I love my dog.
Safe answer.
The dog is on top of the family crest.
Yes. I know what that's like.
It's on top.
Yeah. Final thing, and then I'll let you get back to everything. That's your new book is coming out in October. Your book from a year or 2 ago was fantastic. I loved it so much. When did you know that you were ready to do that? When did it feel like you could tell your story?
Well, we were almost, we were about 4 seasons into Better Call Saul is when I started writing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew the show was kind of going to go the distance. I didn't know it would end as strongly as it did, but I knew we were going to go the distance. And I had a wonderful assistant, Melissa Hyman, who was an actress and an improviser. And talking to her about, all the people I'd worked with and all the people I'd known, I started to have a sense that there's an audience out there who like showbiz bios and who maybe have a lot of reference points, the kind of variety of reference points you would need to read a book I might write.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of people out there who'd over time gotten to understand or know a little bit about Mr. Show and some Tenacious D and Tim and Eric and all these different projects that I'd been a part of. And then the bigger, more popular ones like Better Call Saul. I mean, the reason I called the book comedy, drama was I was actually afraid of the Better Call Saul Breaking Bad fans being frustrated because so much of the book is about comedy that they probably never heard of.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I wanted to warn right away.
Well, I'd hope that they caught up then. People who were new to the Bob Odenkirk game.
Yes.
You gave them a primer to catch up.
I did indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you for pronouncing it in the old English way.
Hey, well, you know me. I'm Mr. Old English, they call me. So, well, Bob, I can't thank you enough for taking some time here and doing this. It's such a thrill. And I hope I see you sooner than later. And thank you for all that you have done and all that you continue to do.
Tom, thank you. Take care.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Great. You're on the air for how long?
Well, I have another 7.5 hours to go. I started at 6 o'clock last night and we're still going. So.
All right. Well, just eat some food outside of that pile of shit that your friend there was eating.
Yes, I'll try to not eat Guy Fieri's
Mac and
sloppy
cheese.
Joe mac and cheese. I'll do my best. All right.